Hi guys, it's been a while since I've recorded a case study video and I wanted to show and share the results of a brand that I've been working with now for about 6, 7, 8 months. I think it is something along that region. And they're an e-commerce brand in Ireland. So a little bit different, not UK, not US. This one's in Ireland, a little bit different there. Been working with them for a while and they are in the bathroom niche. So they sell a lot of products for bathrooms, showers, shower curtains, taps, sinks, toilet seats, things like that. So it might not be the sexiest, but we had a really stellar October, and I really wanted to kind of share this as a bit of a case study, show you what I've been working on, and it might inspire you to take a look at your campaigns that you're running for your clients, especially in the e-commerce niche, and especially this time of year, because this is when we're in Q4, fully in Q4. There's probably about 4 weeks left until Christmas, 4 or 5 weeks until Christmas, and this is when shoppers go absolutely bonkers on Google and start buying up everything. So it wouldn't surprise me if naturally you see a bit of an incline in terms of sales if you're e-commerce Google Ads account manager, or even a business. If you're an e-commerce business, you might see a lot of sales spike this time of year. It's completely normal, completely natural. But I was not expecting to see the type of spike that I did see in this account. So let me shrink my face and get it out of the way and go through the details. So we're looking at the last month, which is October, and you can see we've got quite a not complex account, but we're running about 6 campaigns, a good daily budget that we're working with as well. I need to actually add an additional €30 there. The client was happy to take up to €15,000 per month, so I just need to add an additional 30 there. But as you can see, we've got bestsellers, and this is a structure that I really love to use in terms of e-commerce, which is I'll run a campaign for, say, somewhere in the region of 90 days, if not longer, sometimes maybe 180 days. And I'll run that, and then I want to see inside the campaign which products are performing really well, which are the ones that are getting a lot of conversions, a good cost per conversion, a good return on ad spend, conversion value, all that kind of stuff. And typically what I'll do is after 90 days, maybe 180 days, I'll keep those products in one campaign because Google favors those products. So they're saying, hey, these are the group of products we really like. They're converting really well. And so I say, right, well, it makes sense just to keep those products inside that campaign. And then in the background, what we do is we segment. So let's just say for to make it a really easy example, we've got something like 100 products, and 30 of those products Google really likes, and we're getting a lot of conversions for those, getting a really good return on ad spend for those. But then there's 70 products left in that campaign that are just not performing. Maybe they've had one conversion, maybe they're just not getting any impressions or clicks or anything. They're just kind of sat there waiting for their chance to kind of perform. And so typically what I like to do after 90 days is segment them out. So you can see I've got the best sellers, which is that original 30. And it's not exactly like that for this account. That was just an example, but I'm going to stick with it because it kind of explains the process quite easy. So these are, say, like the best 30 products. And then for the rest of the 70, I've actually gone ahead and created a standard shopping campaign called a new customer acquisition, an NCA campaign. And I've put it on a target return on ad spend really, really low. So there's a few things happening in this campaign. Now we've taken those 70 products that weren't performing in the best performers campaign, the best sellers campaign, pulled them out and given them an additional budget and said, right, brand new campaign, new chance to kind of shine. The best kind of analogy I like to say is the cream rises to the top. We're trying to unearth and uncover new winning products. And what that looks like is we've got 70 products where they've not really had any impressions before, no sales, no clicks, anything like that. In the other campaign, a new lease on life. We've got a new campaign with its own budget, and we're trying to test new products and see which products in this campaign are going to rise up and be winning and profitable. So we've got a new customer acquisition campaign. Now, why do I have target return on ad spend? So the lower the target return on ad spend, the more aggressive Google is going to be at advertising those products. So if you've got something like a 100%, 80%, 120%, return on ad spend target, Google says, I can easily get you that. So I'm going to bid really, really aggressively, and I'm going to get you that 80% return. I'm going to get you that 120% return, so I can go out and I can advertise aggressively to people that I wouldn't normally advertise to, because the barrier for entry is so low. So, for example, on the flip side of that, let's assume you've got a target return on ad spend of 500%. Well, then Google has to be a lot more selective about who it chooses to advertise to. You're saying, I want to hit a 500% return. Google has to be very selective about who it advertises to in order to meet that criteria, in order to get that 500% return. So it has to be more selective. Whereas the lower the bar to entry in terms of in this campaign, 120%, Google can advertise to everybody and anybody and everybody. In the hopes that they'll convert. So it's a new customer acquisition campaign. The other campaign is, at the moment, target maximize conversion value. That's absolutely fine. But let's just say 500% return. Okay, well, now you have to be very selective. Maybe it goes to more returning customers, people that are historically have bought from us and placed larger orders and things like that. So that's why it can afford to bid more focused on those group of people, because they previously shown they place large orders and things like that. Whereas when the bar of entry is so low, 80%, 90%, 100%, 120, then it's typically new customer acquisition. It's going to advertise in places it wouldn't normally advertise to people that are searching and things like that. So that's the thinking behind that. And then we've got a Performance Max. Mostly this is the remarketing campaign. So if they don't if they leave and they drop off, then we can hit them heavy on display, on Gmail, on YouTube, on search, on shopping, all the performance channels in terms of remarketing, and get them to come back and place an order with us. So that's that one. We've got brand there as well. When I took this account on, brand was really, really heavy inside this account. I would probably say 80% of the searches that this account was getting were brand focused. And so I said to the client, look, we are so heavily reliant on brand that we're not scaling past that. We're kind of hitting our cap. There's only so much we can do, because people know our brand, and that's how we're getting the majority of our conversions. What we need to be doing is advertising to more new customers and people who are returning, of course, as well, but people that don't know about us, people that may be looking for our products and things like that. And we need to advertise to those people. So that was my main focus, was to move them away from brand related searches to be more generic searches, if anything, and capture more new customers as well. Hence the new customer acquisition campaign that blends nicely into that strategy. And I think we've achieved that. And now we have probably like 50-50, I would say, because we do have the remarketing campaign, we do have the brand campaign running inside this account, which are giving us some nice conversions. I'll show you in a second. But we also have new customer acquisition. Bestsellers also has new customers in that one. And then we've got a couple of other testing campaigns, if you like, more product focused and more brand focused. The idea was to kind of split these out. But for me, I would rather focus on, these two were already in their account when I took the account over. In fact, no, sorry, I tell a lie. This one the shower doors campaign was already inside the account, but the client said, can we start testing different brands that we stock? And Sonos is a big one. And so I was like, yeah, let's try that on a search campaign basis. Because we already have it covered inside these two campaigns. So having a third layer shopping campaign didn't really make sense to me. So I thought, let's try it as a search campaign. And as you can see, big budgets as well, decent budgets. And yeah, looking last month, we spent 37,000 euros, just over 37K. And we got 209,000 euros in return, which I think is fantastic for just under a 600% return, really 562% return there, which is really good for that kind of money that's invested. We're seeing a really large amount back. And as you can see, PMax is skewing the conversion rates here, because it obviously shows on things like Discover, Gmail, YouTube. When was the last time you bought something from YouTube, right? I actually said this to someone not too long ago. They were thinking, oh, should we run a YouTube campaign? I was like, yes, consider it, but don't expect to see many conversions through the YouTube campaign. They're like, oh, why not? And I basically just posed the question, when was the last time you purchased something through YouTube? we don't really typically buy through YouTube. If it's something that we really want, then we'll probably remember the ad and go off, or, if we're watching the ad on television or laptop or whatever, we might go on our phone whilst the ad is playing and take a look at the product or whatever it is. Or if we're on our iPhones or whatever, we might then go and look at the product later on. But typically we don't buy from, YouTube. Like, I'd rather watch what I want to watch. I don't want to just go off on a tangent down a rabbit hole and buy something and not watch my video. I'd rather wait until after the video, for example. So yeah, that's just a bit of me sidetracking on YouTube campaigns and video campaigns. But that's why conversion rates are quite low, is because it's showing on all these other ones like display, on Discover, on Gmail, on YouTube, causing them to be skewed. But when you look at actually just on Google Shopping, you can see there huge increase there, 1.27%. Obviously, brand is going to be the highest one because it's brand at the end of the day, but that's why we're getting that 0.61 conversion rate there, because we're showing in many different places that people don't typically buy, but when they do buy, a 1.2% to 1.27% conversion rate, not too bad, about average in terms of what Google's saying, and quite funny that that's the lowest cost per conversion as well there. But yeah, this is the power. I mean, we look at the best sellers there. Look, $67,877 euros. Sorry, and then the standard shopping new customer acquisition campaign, almost similar. So that's really good, but a better return on ad spend. So it's not going to be long now before I actually maybe even do a third layer of this, and I keep the best performing products inside this campaign, and then call this a mid-tier campaign, and then do the process again with a new customer acquisition standard shopping campaign. And then what you do is you start building that out. You have a best sellers, you have a mid-tier, you have a new customer acquisition, and you might want to do another layer. All of a sudden, you could have 5 or 6 different campaigns running, advertising your products. But what do you get? The majority of your products all become really best sellers, giving you really good conversion value amounts, really good return on ad spends, as we're seeing here. And you just begin to scale that out a little bit more, rather than running one performance max campaign or one standard shopping campaign and having 70 products, bring you the conversion value, bring you the return on ad spend, and all of your other products aren't really getting much limelight or even selling. So what would you rather have? I know I'd rather have as many as my products selling as much as possible, giving me a good return, because we want to be found as much as possible on Google search and Google Shopping. It's like, sometimes it's a needle in a haystack, right? You don't want to just be shown for 3 or 5 products. If you've got a catalog of something, a product feed of 50,000 products, you want as many of those products to show as much as possible, rather than just have a handful. So overall, I'm really happy with how October went. Yes, we did a Black Friday promotion, and I think that also helped as well. That is the power of Q4 in terms of that buyer's mindset. People go bonkers this time of year, buying everything and anything, even in the most bizarre niches. I mean, this is the bathroom niche. But as you can see, we invested 37,000 euros and we got 209,000 in return. I mean, go to a guy down the street and say, hey, I'll give you, 209,000 euros if you give me 37,000. He's going to bite your hand off, right? So it's a no-brainer. Really good month last month, and we're on track to do another similar month, which is really good. Obviously, we're very early. I mean, in some of these campaigns, there's a lot more that we need to do. Brand with the CTR there running away with it, 27%. But again, it's brand, of course. What do you expect? But yeah, overall, I'm really happy with the strategy in this account. It's playing out quite nicely. Be interesting to see how it goes into the new year as well, once it kind of dies down a little bit. But there's lots of opportunity in this account. And in this one to kind of grow and scale, like I said, segment and build out more campaigns, whether it be bestsellers, new customer acquisition campaigns, whether it be product specific campaigns, whether it be brand specific campaigns. There's so many different angles and opportunities in terms of revenue that we can go down to scale things up. So yeah, this is the power of, Q4, as well as having a clear cut Google Ads strategy. Cannot mention that enough. I mean, if you are a business owner and you want results like this and you're trying to pull your hair out like me and try and figure it out, well, then you don't need to. You can speak to me, and I can help you achieve results like this, just by speaking with you about what it is you actually want. Do you want to focus on conversion value? Do you want to focus on return on ad spend? Is it something else? I like to sit down with you and ask you the questions about what is the reason for running Google Ads? What is your core reason? And then let's work back from that to achieve results like this. What is the strategy that I'm going to implement? Is it going to be new customer acquisition? Is it just going to be, bestsellers? Is it going to be margin based, high margin versus low margin? There's so many different things we can do. But if you are struggling with Google Ads for your e-commerce business, then please feel free to reach out, Ryan at ryanfentonppc.co.uk, and I will audit your account. We can take a look, have a phone call conversation, and see where it goes. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and speak to you soon.